big warm welcome for our Friday the 13th Part 5 cast. Yes? Where do you want, Melanie? Dick? Come on up, Dick. Thank you. Where do you want to sit, baby?
Boy, it's warm in here.
Well, every 5 feet, it's a different temperature.
Cold and then warm.
Oh, there's no winning. Either it's really cold or really hot, right?
Look what John's wearing. I'm double fisting this mic.
There you go.
All right. I'm a survivor.
Oh,
I'm a survivor.
I love it.
No longer a
And
victim.
Summer's wearing color.
Someone never was Ron taking over for me.
It's true. And I always wear that kind of shirt, don't I, Ashlyn?
Yeah.
Usually a V-neck, a long sleeve, right?
That's it.
So we just traded
Yeah,
without.
because I rarely wear this. But
I'm really trying to break out of my comfort zone and not wear all black all the time. It's very uncomfortable, but I'm making an effort, okay? Leave me alone. Ashlyn.
Nothing to say.
All right, everyone, let's start this off. This is the first time I've gotten to talk to you guys, and it's such an honor. I would just love to know about your acting journey. How did you get involved in this craft, the arts, all of it? Let's start with you, John.
How did I get involved? I'm from Chicago. Anybody here from Chicago?
Yeah.
So when I was 9, I saw a TV movie from Disney called Toby Tyler, and I said, "How did that kid get that part? I could have done that." And then, lo and behold, the Glen Ellen Children's Theater in the western suburbs had auditions for a play called Toby Tyler, and I said, "I'm gonna get that role." I mean, it wasn't arrogant; it was just destiny. And sure enough, I got it. And from then on, I told everybody, "I'm gonna be on TV. I'm gonna be in movies. I'm gonna be famous." And they're like, "Yeah, right." And long story short, I got cast in the pilot that took me to LA. And when I moved to LA, I told all my high school buddies, I will never do a slasher picture. I will never do like a religious Christian film. First movie I get, you want to make God laugh? You tell me your plans. Friday the 13th, and the second film I got was a Christian film for the Reverend Billy Graham. So there you go. It's quite a journey.
Wow.
Such a variety.
I'm versatile.
I see that.
Well, I was in college, in Penn State, and I was going to be an English teacher. And I had to take this course called, I forget what it was, but it was a theater course designed for people like me who you're probably going to get stuck doing the high school play. So I took it, and we did some scenes, and the teacher said, "Look, I'm doing acting 1 next term. Would you come and take it?" And I said, "Sure." So his name was Dick Davison, and so I took it, and I worked with Bruce Davison and some other people. And all of a sudden, I've always had trouble as a kid expressing myself, because I moved around so much. I guess I was always a new kid. And
Thank
so
you.
All of a sudden, now I was acting, and it was wonderful. I could express this, I could express that, and that's where I started. That's where I started. Changed my mind.
Amazing.
And I did a play. My first play was in the Round there, and it was wonderful.
It really helps, people don't realize that a lot of people in show business are introverted, shy, kind of withdrawn, and we're kind of drawn to the arts because you feel free and you hide behind, that's not a good word, but you know what I mean, you're behind the facade of whoever you're playing. I started out as a dancer, singer-dancer, and I did a lot of shows in New York. And then I decided, well, I had gotten a Dr. Pepper commercial, and I was the lead character. So I got to sing, dance, and act. But prior to that, I thought, I really want to be an actress. It's really what I want to do. I mean, dancing's great because it's gotten me in, and I enjoy it, and I'm good at it, so it was paying bills. But I really wanted to be an actress, so that's how it started. It propelled me from the dancing and singing in New York City. And then I started doing plays off Broadway, and then I danced on Broadway. So it just went from there, and I eventually came to LA because all the work was there, it really was. I wanted to stay in New York forever, but I came to LA. And I got a lot of little things, and then some bigger things, and then this audition came up for for Friday the 13th, and I knew nothing about Friday the 13th because I had never seen any of them because I don't like horror movies. Don't tell anybody, but I don't like horror movies. So, not for any reason except they're very scary, you know. So I had to see part 4 when they cast me. I had to see part 4. I think John had the same story because I had never seen anything, and I thought, well, I need to know where this all starts. So Paramount brought me in and I saw part 4 and I was shocked and said, okay, well, let's give this a whirl and see if I can do it. And I think we did. I think we pulled off something different because it's controversial. I'm very proud that we're in the one that thought outside of the box and tried something different. And whether it worked or not, I think it did, but the fans weren't thrilled. But I think it was great to try something different for the franchise. So I'm very proud that we are part 5. We were different. And by the way, it's Quentin Tarantino's favorite Friday the 13th.
No.
Yes. He runs us. As a matter of fact, he's going to invite us to do a Q&A. He owns the theater, the Beverly Theater, and he's every year around Halloween. He runs the 35 millimeter of us.
I will never do a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
You know, my story is kind of the same in a way. I got the part, and then I had to figure out, well, who the hell is this Jason dude anyway?
Yeah.
So I had to go. So I watched part 3 with Brooker, and I thought, oh shit.
He was a great Jason.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was. We were really close too.
John and I have a similar story about it because neither one of us, I believe, I've heard you talk, that we didn't know anything about Friday the 13th. I'm actually thrilled that I didn't know because I think it would have been some kind of, in the back of my mind, it might have altered what I did, I don't know.
Do you
So-
guys remember, was it called Friday the 13th
No.
when you auditioned?
Repetition.
Repetition, that's right.
Anybody know why?
David Bowie.
That's right. I just learned that at a screening, that all the Friday the 13th, because Paramount didn't want people to know,
Right, yeah.
so that we wouldn't get, unionized by the Teamsters. And Paramount's a union studio, so they do them under a kind of pseudonym.
Oh.
And every film, you guys might know this, was named after a David Bowie
I
song.
didn't know that.
I just learned a repetition was what I got,
Yeah, that's right.
and I had several auditions before somebody told me, by the way, now that you're coming to your final callback, you're okay with Friday the 13th, right? I thought I was playing Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird. I really thought, because they only gave me the sides, they didn't give me the whole script.
Right.
And it was about a kid coming out of an insane asylum. I was like, well, this is cool. And he doesn't talk. Oh, I'm Robert Duvall. Because he was Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird. Well, if I had known ahead of time, I don't know if I would have auditioned because I had this attitude like, oh, I'm a classically trained Northwestern Second City I'm from Chicago. I said I'd never do it. And then, of course, it was really a great experience.
Awesome.
Well, my story in shooting was kind of odd because it was the first time anybody had ever said, don't tell anybody what the ending is. I had to sign papers, so you would not reveal the ending of the film. Plus, the last 5 pages of the script were ripped out of everybody's script, so nobody knew. It was really bizarre. And I've never had that before or since. But that's the way it goes.
Now when you do a movie and it's with somebody big and they don't want you to tell, you have to sign an NDA. Because I just had to do that for Bradley Cooper. But yeah, I had to sign an NDA.
Wow.
But that's what they're doing now. I didn't have to sign, what did I have to sign for Friday? We had to sign something that we wouldn't reveal that it was the Friday the 13th, which again meant nothing to me. So I wouldn't have told anybody. You know, I'm doing Friday the 13th.
What was your audition like for Friday the 13th?
Well, interesting. I only had one. I went in and I read for Danny Steinman, and the producer was there, Frank Mancuso Jr. And there were like 5 people sitting at a table, casting, and Frank and the director, and I think 2 writers. And I finished the scene, and they had to do another. And Frank Mancuso stopped the whole thing, and he said, "I want you to do an improv for me." I said, "Okay." What? And he said, "I want you to leave and come back in and do an improv that you're being murdered."
Oh, wow.
I said, "Can I have a minute?" He said, "Take how long?"
Wow.
So I left the room, and there's a waiting room full of people, and you have, nope, gotta concentrate. So I took a few minutes and I went in and I just kicked the door in and I did this scene, and it went on not too long because I remember I was on the ground and I finished and I looked up and they were all like this. So I thought, well, I either was really horrible or I got this. So they said, thank you very much. I left. This was before cell phones. That's how old I am. I got in my car, drove home, and by the time I got home, the message was on the answering machine that I got it, and I've never, ever gotten anything that quickly. You know how long they make you wait? It's like 15 callbacks on some stuff. So, yeah, I was thrilled. So I found out that I didn't really suck.
Mine was a lot simpler than that. I had a first audition, then I got a call back, and it was with Danny Steinman, and there was a table there, and he wanted me to lay on the table and present and pretend that my son had just died. So, okay, so I don't have any kids. So I went through that, and apparently he liked it.
So they had you do the same kind of, like an
Yeah,
improv.
exactly.
It's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So I was at the Lee Strasberg Institute because I'm very serious.
Because you're a classically trained actor.
And so when I got this script, my personality is quite a contrast to Tommy. You're the lead in the movie, but you have 24 lines, and most of them are and no. So what I did was I put on a bunch of clothes. I went to the audition, and I would run in the fire escape up and down this building, and I would tell the assistant or casting director, I'll be in the fire escape, just call me when they're ready for me. Because I didn't want to sit in the waiting room or see anybody else. I wanted to stay in character. So it really worked because I would go in and sit and I would just start sweating. And I wouldn't look at Danny or I didn't even know who was there. I just stayed in character the whole time. I didn't talk, I wasn't friendly, I'm John from Chicago, boy next door. I was Tommy. And but I had multiple callbacks, so they must have been looking at other guys. And yeah.
Well, I did hear, this is interesting too. I did hear that they were looking, and I'm glad I didn't know this at the time. They were looking from coast to coast. They auditioned in New York for our roles, you and me, maybe others. They went to New York, Chicago, and LA. They told me that after the fact. Another thing I'm glad I didn't know. You know?
Yeah.
So, good for you.
What was the most challenging scene that you shot in Friday?
Most challenging scene I shot, wow, I think it was in my bedroom. I have to wake up and I go to the mirror in the desk and I've got some pills and I have to ingest them. And I look up and in the mirror, there's Jason. But he wasn't really there in the scene, you know, so you had to be genuinely terrified. And then they shoot it again with him there. But the problem with being a method actor, you have to stay we'd be doing that scene all morning, and I'd be like in character, hallucinating and on drugs, and trying to really be, you know, I thought I was Robert De Niro or Al Pacino. That was probably the hardest for me, is just, it's hard to be scared. Comedy is hard. Drama is easy, I think.
I had it kind of easy, I think. I was basically second unit. Danny Steinman was spending all his time with Tom and
Tommy and Tam, whatever, what's her name?
And because they were difficult scenes. So for me, it was kind of like, do what you want. So I did. And if we had a mess up, I said something wrong or something, we'd take it again. But I was sort of given a certain freedom, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, it's nice.
The toughest thing I had, I guess, was the first scene where I discovered my son has been killed.
Yeah.
I guess that was probably my most difficult scene. But after that, I was on my own. So great.
Yeah, that's a nice freedom. I don't know if John had that. I also had that with Danny Steinman, because I was asking him for direction. You know, what about this? What do you want here? What are you going for here? Do whatever you want. And I came from theater in New York where we were directed, but it was very freeing. I was scared at first, my first bunch of scenes, because I thought, do whatever you want. I was like, oh. And then I learned so much while doing that, that I was, you know. So I think that all of us, especially John and I, what you see on the screen, we created from us, you know, and it wasn't just direction. for me, as an actor, I learned a lot on that. It was my first lead in a film, and it was very scary, but I learned a lot.
I learned, one of the things I learned the most from Danny, because, you know, I didn't have a lot of lines, and so there were other people that required more, you know, they had
Correct.
bigger scenes, right? So I kind of felt part of my, I wasn't getting enough attention. Like, I'm an actor, I need a lot of attention. But Danny came up to me and he said, and maybe he said this to everybody, but he said to me, I know you don't have a lot of lines. This is your movie, Tommy. Own it. And I was like suddenly empowered, like, okay, I don't need any attention. I'm the bad, you know. And it really was like, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. You worry about you.
Right.
And you just be the best Tommy you can be. Because my concern was I would get distracted about, oh, the kids are all having fun, the other actors, because they're, you know, playful and, you know, Tommy had to be this distant guy, so I just stayed distant from everybody.
And it
But
was
then-
great, because it
Yeah,
worked for,
it
it worked for me,
Yeah.
because we both stayed in character. He and I never spoke to each other.
That's right.
In the I don't know, I was there, I don't know, 8 weeks or something. We
Yeah.
never spoke to each other. And and I thought, oh, thank God I'm working with someone who works like I do. Because everyone else he's right they were all partying.
They were
Right?
fine. Well, then that's who they are.
And
That's their
but
character.
those were their characters also, but that's who they are. So it was very helpful.
I never even saw Danny Steinman,
Wow.
the director. I mean, he was with you guys, and I was on my own. I never saw him. He never helped me do anything.
Poor
He
Danny
never
had
said
to,
anything to me.
poor Danny had to be on all
You
those.
should have got a directing credit.
Yeah. Poor Danny had to be on all those scenes with me, because I had all the running, weeks and weeks of running in the rain and all that. Danny had to be there. He'd be shivering. The hardest scene for me was the chainsaw scene. It's also my favorite. Because I got to work with Dick Warlock, who's a great stunt coordinator, the great Dick Warlock, who was also Mike Myers. And he taught me everything. Because I never did stunts, but they said, you have to do this one, it's all you. I did not know it was going to be a real chainsaw that was on and working.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so practiced with it off, it's very heavy. And then I had to practice the fight scene with it turned on. Once they turned it on, it weighed like another 50 pounds to me. It's very, because it's vibrating. Yeah. And so the last thing Dick Warlock said to me before we started shooting the scene was, please don't hurt my guy. That was Tom Morgan. Please don't hurt him, because you can. And that,
No pressure,
and then
right?
then they said action, and I thought, because I have to throw the thing at him. You know, remember that? So we fight, we actually are fighting, and he's coming at me, and he's like 6'3" with that machete. And so I'm fighting back, and then there's part of the scene I have to throw it. And that's when Warlock's off to the side going, don't hurt him. So that was the most difficult, but the most fun.
Did you have any like stage combat training
None.
that you could fall back on?
No,
this?
I mean, you know what, as an acting student, you learn fencing and all that stuff. But I've never done stunts, and it's quite different when you're with a working chainsaw with real stunt people. Tom Morga and Dick Warlock are the real thing, and they're staring at me. So, yeah, it was a lot of pressure.
Like you also said that was the most fun. What was the most fun for you boys? Most
You're fun
fun.
when I killed you, right? You had the most fun when you fell off the...
This was 40 years ago. I don't remember. I'm 80 years old now. I don't remember this. I was 41 when we shot it.
Wow.
I would say the most fun I had was, Dick was an amazing stunt guy. And
Yeah.
it was very hard to stay in character because he was so friendly. And I had to flip a guy in the, in the house, and he was very concerned again about don't hurt
Yeah.
my guy Eddie. His name was Steady Eddie.
Yeah.
And out Fast Eddie. Eddie and I,
great.
by the way, stayed friends for 40 years. But I had to pick him up, and then he was going to kind of do a handstand on my shoulder, and then crash down on this table. And it was really fun because I wrestled in high school and I took karate and jiu-jitsu, but I wasn't able to lift this guy up and he had to be a gymnast. And so when I lifted him, he jumped and went up and came in. And then I got to beat the crap out of him, which was, after they took him out of the scene, they put down a sandbag. And they said, just wail on this sandbag as hard as you can because we want you not to pull any punches. Well, my knuckles were, of course, method actor, I have to really hit the thing as hard as I can. My hand was all fried. But that was my funnest scene, I think, was that fight scene. I did enjoy also the karate out with the, martial arts with Ron on the motorcycle. That was another fun one.
I don't remember seeing that. So you did martial arts with Ron Sloan?
Yeah, we had, and Dick had a stunt double, so we shot it twice, once with me, once with his guy, because the guys get paid. That was out in the dark when she's yelling, Junior, Junior!
Okay.
And then, so.
Oh, that's fun.
I had no fun at all.
You get to have your fun now.
Yes. You've been having fun for what, 40 years?
And he's still having fun.
Exactly.
It's a pleasure
He's
for
always
me
smiling.
to meet you guys, because to hear someone say how much they appreciate this film is remarkable to me. And it's just so, because when the film first came out, it was not well thought of because there's no Jason. But then eventually it got better reviews because all of a sudden it became a whodunit.
Yeah.
It became a mystery.
Yep.
And so, but I had no fun.
Do we have any audience questions right now? Yes.
Have you guys been involved in horror for many years, and how has it changed from, was it 85 when that came out?
85.
And then to more currently? I mean, a lot
I
of
don't do
changes.
horror films. I mean, I don't watch them. And when I was growing up, it was always Karloff and Lugosi. But slasher films and what they're doing now, I'm just not into it.
Yeah, like a special effects or things that they used to have a lot of different props back in the 80s. It was more visceral. And how is it now? Is it more green screen, or what is the deal?
I don't know, because I part of the thing was I thought, well, I might get typecast to do these things, and that never happened. I got the opposite. I was getting cast in the complete opposite of that. So, in that respect, I was lucky. But the difference I see now, because I can appreciate the Friday the 13th franchise, because I think they were well done for what they were, and I think that they had some kind of storyline. My feeling with the newer stuff and the most recent stuff in the last 2 years, it's all about the killing, the death. It's not about characters at all. When you saw our film, you had an affinity for one of the characters at least, right? You had to have a connection to somebody in the film and feeling for them, so that you would have a feeling when they got killed, right? Or for Tommy, John. You have to connect, my opinion, you have to connect with a character in the film to be engaged and care. So the new stuff that I've seen, I don't care about anybody, and it really, I leave because it's all about blood.
Well, I only saw the first and the 10, Jason X. Jason X was my favorite. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's Jason in space, basically. It's just, you connected with everybody. There was a genius comedy, and just so many excellent deaths that you laughed about.
You said something really important. You said genius comedy, and it's funny because when both Melanie and I, when we had not seen Friday the 13th, I knew of it, of course, with the hockey mask, Jason, and everything, but I thought I'll go in character and watch it at Paramount because it wasn't out on VHS yet, it wasn't available, so we had to watch it projected in a big theater, in a cavern at Paramount, and of course I wanted to go by myself and sit in the front row and pretend that I was Tommy Jarvis. Well, I got scared after about 5 minutes. It's the music, that and being by yourself, and it did have a spirit about it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back and sit in the light. And what's funny though, now I look at it and I survived 80s horror. It's a genre that people, I never went to conventions for years because I thought, it's gonna be like demonic and all these evil spirits and I don't wanna open, and then I meet all these wonderful people that are like, yeah, I'm the son of a pastor, but I love horror, and I love your thing. Like, what? I'm a Christian, but I felt like I love the title, A New Beginning, because for me, it was a turning point in my career, and I fell into producing. And I've done one short horror, but it was kind of where the best film I could recommend. I went into making a film which is available on YouTube because it's been pirated, but it's called The Stoning of Soraya M. It's the true story of a woman who was stoned to death in Iran. It is the most brutal, graphic, heart-wrenching horror film I've ever participated in because it's a true story. And the film was instrumental in ending stoning, getting a moratorium on this practice that is still carried out in parts of the Middle East. It's unbelievable. But it turned out well, and we used all the special effects and creatures and went into the shops that do the horror films to create this life-size doll who is stoned to death. And my partner, I fell into business with Steve McAvity. He had been Mel Gibson's partner for all of the Mel movies. He had done The Passion, which the work on Jim Caviezel and the blood and the lacerations, it was all done in a creature shop. And it was phenomenal, and you'll see. So that was my experience with going into horror. But I like the true stories. I like to do stuff that's going to move the needle and make people go, we got to end this. We got to do something about this. But Friday,
You'd like to make a difference.
I like to make a difference. Although I have to say, I was in a fraternity at UCLA when I did Friday, and it played in the Fox Theater, which holds like 1,000 people in Westwood. I've never seen people have so much fun, laugh so hard, make fun of me. I was sitting next to my girlfriend, and she'd go, "Oh, ah!" It was like, it was a crazy, fun, participatory experience that I didn't have when I first saw the film by myself, where I was like, "Oh crap, this is scary as heck."
I took somebody with me for the screening at Paramount, and we were friends. I've known her a long time. Please don't eat the Sharmans. Is her father? I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Whipple.
Yeah, Mr. Whipple, right? And she didn't say a word to me the whole time. We went home. Didn't say a word. Nothing. So,
That's
what,
it.
what fraternity?
Phi Kappa Psi.
I'm TKE.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we still are. Yeah.
Any other questions out there? Yes.
Melanie, I told you, and I meant it, that you're one of my favorite Final Friday girls.
Oh,
bless you.
Women, you know. But, you know, and it really is kind of almost like a drama until, you know, some murder happens, right? Until it gets crazy. So did you, I have an idea of what I think, but did you approach it more like, let's really tap into this drama, this story with Tommy, and, you know, this whole, I'm going blank, you know, trying to make him a better person, fit in?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you really have any pressure to be like the Scream Queen?
No. I didn't. First of all, I didn't know what a scream queen was.
Yeah.
Right.
I did not know what a final. I just found out 10 years ago what a final girl was. I mean, I didn't know the importance. I was just part of the cast. As an actor, you create that character, so you have to go through you make a whole history for her. So yes, I did that first and created who she was as a person, and then the story, my relationship to him, my relationship to Matt at Pinehurst, and to all the kids there who were all off their rockers. I had a relationship with each and every one of them as Pam Roberts. So yeah, I tried because I didn't think the script was that good, and so I tried to do the best I could to make it interesting so that people would somehow care about this character. You know, otherwise, what are we here for? Just to watch dead people. So I just felt that was my task, you know, as an actor and as part of the film, and to maybe make the film be good, you know.
And I know no one really knew the whole ending, but did you know that it was not going to be Jason?
I knew everything. They told me up front, and then it changed a little bit about the third week that I was in. But they told me everything.
Did you sign papers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're more rabid about that now. In those days, they were, you had to sign stuff, but they weren't as. Now it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Now you have to sign everything away. Yeah.
Did you have something else you were going to say?
Well, for John, were you pressured at all to be the eye candy of the movie, or was that just you? That's just who you were at the time.
Are you pressured? Is it hard being so hot?
Yeah.
That's what he wants to ask.
John, is it hard to be so hot?
I did not feel like I felt I cut my hair differently and weird, and I tried to, put on glasses. And the only thing I did do was a lot of push-ups, because I felt like if I have to take my shirt off, I don't want my fraternity brothers laughing at me. And it was kind of a vanity thing, but I did get in really great shape, because every time I would do a scene, I'd do 15 push-ups, 20 push-ups, because I wanted to have my adrenaline going. And then, because I was at Strasbourg, you would relax and just sit, and I'd start sweating, and my heart's going 100 miles an hour, but I tried to just be calm and relax. So it was a good workout regime, and of course my kids say to me now, how come you don't look like that anymore? How come you don't wear your hair like that? I don't have hair like that anymore. It's like, wow. So.
Who did that haircut? Did Paramount do that?
No, I did it. Well, Kathy Logan did it, who was an amazing. I'll never forget. She had this thing called Sea Breeze. She would squirt it on the back of my neck. I didn't know what it was, but it was like an alcohol thing, and I was like, I want her to do all my movies. It was just some sort of thing. Anyway, Kathy Logan, great.
She was
makeup
great, Kathy
person.
Logan.
Yeah.
Enid, remember Enid? She was also
Oh
there.
yeah.
And I became
Best friends with the makeup artist, Lou Lazaro, who's passed away, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
We became
Dom.
lifelong friends, 40 years, yeah.
We had a great crew. You know, we had
Right.
amazing cast. Shavar made the film different
Yeah.
because Reggie the Reckless. Was, yeah,
Sammy was a child. They
Let me
didn't have
tell you.
children.
I know.
We also lucked out because he was, like John, very professional. He's one of the most professional actors I've worked with.
Stayed in touch with him
Yeah,
too.
I'm
And then
close with-
Tiffany, who does the dance, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a cool dance. I'm like, but I didn't get to know or talk to any of them only years later because my character was I didn't interact with any of those people. And then who was it that went on to do Indiana Jones?
Yes, the guy who played Matt.
Yeah,
Um,
Richard.
Richard Young.
Richard Young went on to be the real Indiana Jones that gives Harrison Ford his hat. So it was a great. I look back at it now and I kind of go, wow. And to have you all 40 years later think this is somehow still relevant is amazing to me. And of course, kids don't believe it. They're like, you're going to Chicago? Nobody wants your autograph. You're going to be
How old are your
sitting at the
kids?
table.
How old are your kids?
I don't want to say because that
Okay.
would tell you how. No, my kids are all out of school now,
Oh,
so
okay.
they're all in their 20s.
So they don't get it,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
But this has been going on for since they were
since you were
little.
little.
Do they like horror films or not?
They have not really seen. I have 3 girls, so do not show like Frozen to your daughter, because then when she gets married, she wants to get married outside in the snow, like Frozen, like Narnia. Show them like Moana, and then they want to get married in Hawaii.
You sound like you have experience in this.
I had to do a vegan wedding in the snow, outdoors, in the middle of January 7th in Washington State, because my daughter had seen the Chronicles of Narnia. She thought the pictures would be awesome.
You also did a Friday the 13th episode of the
No,
show.
you know that
Or
somebody,
no? Is
somebody
that true?
put that on the internet. I just don't
Not true?
correct it. Yeah, because now it gives me something to talk about.
Yeah.
But they also
Not true.
Not true.
Mhm.
No, they did name a character. There's a character, John Shepard, in I think part 6, Dr. Shepard or something.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought, well, they did that because I didn't do the role because I turned it down. They didn't like me. You know, you invent all these imaginary stories.
Could be.
Could
It
be.
could be.
Oh, did you learn the push-up trick from Ricardo Montalban? Because he did Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. He did push-ups, like thousands of push-ups, so he was like really great. Did you learn it from him, or did he learn that trick from you? Because he had the great chest. Did you see The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek? Sorry, I'm sidetracked.
It was a trick I learned very early on because when I got into acting because when I was 2, my mom put me buck naked in a Vogue magazine with a supermodel back in the early in the 60s, and so I've always had this. Apparently, because of that, I was scarred for life, and I have a tendency to be an exhibitionist. So if you're going to take your clothes off, you know, not many people look very good with their clothes off. So most people look better with their clothes
Bite
off.
your tongue.
But I thought
I take offense to that. You haven't seen me naked.
You look marvelous, but no. It was more. It actually was more of a thing for the acting.
Oh, okay.
To get it just worked good too if you had to wear a shirt with tight shirt or something.
Gotcha.
I saw a hand right there. You?
Me?
Uh-huh.
Thank you. I just wanted to know what each of your favorite kills in A New Beginning was.
Good question.
I don't have one, I'm sorry. I don't.
I can't think of her name. Debbie.
Debbie
Debbie
Voorhees.
Yeah,
Voorhees.
Debbie Voorhees.
Yeah.
Well, of course, my favorite kill is I get to kill Jason. You know? And who can say that about a Friday the 13th? Very few people. And then be, oh, he wasn't the real Jason. Well, he was to me. And They did a screening in Glendale this last week. It's the 40th anniversary in a theater, and somebody just wrote me, would you stop by? And I happened to be in Pasadena. I stopped by and I stuck my head at the end. And I saw Shavar and you in the hayloft, and Shavar leaps and knocks Jason off, and I went, oh, I didn't kill him. I forgot. I thought I killed him.
Yeah,
And
but then
he
pops
leans
up.
over and then, I forgot that part too.
Yeah.
And Jason comes back up and grabs his leg, and then I come over and chop off his arm.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm still bad at it.
Yeah.
So I am a survivor.
Yes, sir.
Very few people can say they lived through a Friday the 13th.
Or any of those franchise slashers, right?
Yeah,
There's usually
exactly.
only one survivor.
Well, I do go on part 6, but I did not go on
Right.
part 6.
Well, Melanie also survived.
Yes.
Right.
She's a
So,
survivor.
and
Shavar.
if we had Shavar, he would have. So we would have
Yeah.
a stage full of 75% survivors.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
baby.
that's, I guess why you're the only guy who died. Sorry. On the panel. That's why you had no
It's
fun.
meant to be.
All right, well, I'm going to give you guys one last question to wrap us up. And you guys have had a long career in show business. I would love to know something important that you've learned on a set or a stage, Melanie, anything that you still carry with you today.
To be prepared, to be on time, actually be early, and just be prepared. Always know your lines and be prepared. That's it.
Well, you have to go early for the audition because you don't know what kind of script you're going to get. So you have to like really prepare yourself to get in there and be able to do. Now, I doggone it, the casting director once told me I want this and this and this. The director wants this and this and this, so do it that way. So I was okay, all right, and I went in there and I did it. And the director was like, "What are you doing?" The casting director wanted somebody else. He didn't want me. So he was, which is so unusual. It's so unusual. But what she says is true. You got to get there early because you got to scope out the script and figure out what you're going to do with it for the audition because you got to impress those people.
I think the
and
question
you
was
want to
once
be real.
I think the question was once you have the job and you're going on the
Oh,
movie set.
Or
What?
anything, and it could be theater, something that you've learned that taught you something important that you still use today.
Yeah.
Be on time and be prepared.
He had an education. I mean, he was supposed
Classically trained actor.
Well, I read a quote
But
from...
be on time. That's my biggest
Oh,
thing.
yeah, which I'm terrible at because it's a fear thing. If I show up on time and I'm not good, then I have to only myself to blame. But if I'm late, I can say, well, I was late, so I didn't do as good a job. But what I learned, Spencer Tracy once wrote, an actor has one job, once you're on the set. You hit the mark, you look them in the eye, and you tell the truth. And that's a life lesson that I really struggle with because I can hit the mark and I can look you in the eye, but I'm a classically trained liar. My kids call me the great embellisher. I'm an exaggerator. But to really be like Melanie, Dick, the people that worked on this film, to be able to tell the truth and to be truthful in life, to be a truth teller, is a real struggle because I always want to embellish or change or supplement. I think if you can do that in life or on the stage, you can do anything because people kind of go, you know it. I'm getting chills right now saying it. When I speak truth to you or when you see a movie that rings true, it hits you in the heart. And that's how we get to people's heads. You got to hit them in the heart. So sometimes it's with a machete, sometimes it's with the truth.
Love that. Thank you so much. Everyone.
Say thanks to everything because we wouldn't be here all these years later without you. So thank you.
Thank